What is up, wrestling fans? It is that time of the week for the Fanlight Wrestling Team to talk all things pro wrestling and call it right down the middle. That's right, it's time for this week's edition of 607 TWS, the wrestling show powered by FanlightZone.com. Of course, I am your host. My name is Rich. Joining me in the co-pilot's chair as she does each and every week, she is the hunter of the Pokemans because she's got to catch them all. She is the guru of cosplay, but most importantly for this show, she is a pro grappling connoisseur. She is the first lady of Fanlight Zone. It is Miss Sammy. How are you this week?
Tough week this week. Tough week, but it's going to be okay. We got some wrestling to talk about.
Well, at least your week is going better than Ludwig Kaiser's. Speaking of which, the man sitting to my right, joining me once again in the other co-pilot's chair, he is the host of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour podcast, better known as the ODPH. He is also the CEO and editor-in-chief of Fanlight Zone and FanlightZone.com. He is the boss. He is Ken Moneybags.
Saturday. Night is going to kick the show off because we have a lot to talk about in the land of pro wrestling, and we want you to jump in the chat as a way of saying thank you because we'd like to interact and build this whole Fanlight Zone community up. So make sure you're doing the homework assignment because I'll give it to you early because we've got a lot to discuss. You want to make sure you're following Fanlight Zone on all the social media accounts. We interact with everybody there. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for the YouTube channel because you don't want to miss the exclusive content that's coming there and all the great interviews in the comics world that have just started rolling out and more on the way. And you want to make sure you tap the notifications so you don't miss when shows like 607 TWS, the wrestling show, goes live, and hit that like button because we like to know what you like to watch and because we try giving you the programming and keep that ball rolling of the amazing content you find here at the home of comics pop culture.
Yeah, there you go. He ran through the whole list, so I don't have to. That's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. We got a big week as far as a couple of big shows. It is Memorial Day weekend here in the U.S. So for everybody in the U.S., it's an extra weekend. It's full of barbecues and, as of late, professional wrestling because we have a couple of big shows from both of the two biggest companies in the U.S. And we're going to talk about some other wrestling takes as well. But let's kick it off with the show that's going to come up first this week, and that of course is WWE Saturday Night's main event. By the way, it's still listed on the Peacock. The Peacock. I thought that was almost over with it.
Yeah, I thought so too.
But I
Is
also
anybody paying for that?
I hope somebody's paying for it because if not, it could be hard to watch this one because it is listed on the flyer as being there. Of course, it is coming to you live from the Fort Wayne, Indiana, at the Allen County War Memorial Coliseum. I did make the joke that it was the Uncle Allen War Memorial Coliseum. Shout outs to WWE Hall of Famer AJ Styles. Yeah, Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got a 5-match card for Saturday night's main event, which for Saturday night's main event, that's a solid card. For a pay-per-view. That's right. We call them pay-per-views now because of the cost that you pay. Yeah, not so solid. Just throwing that out there. That's here, there. Are you, lady and gent, are you ready to talk about Saturday night's main event?
Absolutely. Let's go.
All right.
Let's run through it.
Let's run down the card. I'm going to go down the card as it's listed here. In a tag team match for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship, your champions, Paige and Brie Bella, will be taking on the Irresistible Forces, Lash Legend and Nia Jax. So the former champions getting the rematch at Saturday night's main event. Sammy, we're going to start with you. Who do you got walking out of Saturday's main event, the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions?
I have this at Ian still, and it's not that that they're not deserving. I don't really want a long title run from Saraya and the Bellas, but it's just like this isn't the time yet. I think you need to have more clarity on when everyone's healthy, and I don't think giving it back to the other, to Lash and Nia really makes the most sense. So I'm and still.
I love your Freudian slip there. She's back to Paige. Back to Paige. I'm going to do that a bunch of times anyways. Let's be honest. I will also be calling Adam Copeland Edge more than likely. So I just had to pick on you. Ken M., who's walking out WWE Women's Tag Team Champions?
And the WrestleMania moment is over. Let's get it back to the rightful owners of the belts. And let's just already have the Bellas turn on Paige already. Like, let's just get that ball rolling because you know it's coming. I'm sorry. Like, I think It was a nice nostalgic moment at WrestleMania, but Lash and Nia. See, I'm so amped up. I'm messing people's names up, but that's how you know I'm excited about this match. I think that they were robbed of that moment at WrestleMania. I understand why they did it, but listen, you gotta give them back the belts and let them run with it, because when they were on as champions, they were great and they were really building that division up. What has happened since Brie and Paige have won? Honestly,
None.
That's what I say. Case closed.
You better be careful talking like that. The dog will be here Saturday night more than likely, and you better not disrespect Paige in his presence. If you do, I'm not responsible, and I might go to the bathroom during that because I don't need that on my hands. I just want to let you know that. However, I am also picking a new the Irresistible Forces just because I think that they were a great tag team. And I'm much like you. We got the pop at WrestleMania. That's what that was built in for. I was okay with that. I said that on the recap show. I was okay with that. Now let's get back to what was one of the most biggest shining beacons of tag team wrestling was the W Women's Division. And let's get back to that. And I think the way you get back to that is having great matches. And the way you do that is give the belts back to the Irresistible Forces, who are a great tag team.
Yes.
Let's talk about they're not the only tag titles on the lines, because the World Tag Team Championships will also be on the line, as your champions, The Vision, Logan Paul, and Austin Theory, will be taking on the Street Profits, Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford. Of course, this has got a little teeth to this one. Street Profits returned right back into the title picture, kind of tied in a little bit with Seth Rollins, although Montez Ford doesn't want any of that smoke, if you will, but Angelo Dawkins seems to want to join up. You got to ask those questions. The hard questions have to be asked here, not just who is going to be the World Tag Team Champions, but are we seeing the inevitable breakup of the Street Profits finally? Your thoughts first, Ken?
I mean, well, first and foremost, anytime we get Logan Paul on TV, you know it's a big bucket of wins. So
because he's humble.
He's humble. I mean, it says in the song. Songs don't lie. In this situation, though, I agree with you. I think it has to be end still, because I think that breakup is long overdue for the Street Profits, because they're both going to be amazing singles competitors. And I think right now, with the whole Seth Rollins connection right now, if they did the break right now, had Montez Ford go heel and move him on a different brand, I think it would do wonders. But this is going to be a fantastic match no matter what. But I'm going to say end still.
I like it, but you know what? I'm going to go with and new. I think that Seth Rollins is going to play a part, because I don't think it's going to be quite the time for the Street Profits to break up. I think that'll come a little later down the line. I do believe that Montez Ford will probably be the Shawn Michaels of the group. No disrespect to Angelo Dawkins, but I think that that's really kind of the writings on the wall there. But I think they're going to get one more World Tag Team title win, and it's going to probably come here with a little bit of help, I think, from Seth Rollins to kind of solidify the fact that the Street Profits should help him out in this ongoing feud with the Vision, which I'm not a huge fan of anyways. But Miss Sammy, who's leaving the World Tag Team Champions?
You know, I'm glad that you focused on the Street Profit side of things, because I'm going to focus on the Vision side of things, because I am calling out and new as well. The Vision's been on TV for over half a year at this point. What's really happened with this group? Logan Paul, at this point, his stock has kind of fallen off. The crowd still really hates him, but he's not really having good matches. He's not really being impactful. Austin Theory was supposed to be the guy who was rebuilt from all of this. He's not doing anything different. He's the Wheeler Yuta of the group. He's just there to eat pins. His character hasn't evolved anything besides he shaved his head. It's really time to take a hard look at this group and go, it is not working. Paul Heyman needs to work with Braun Breaker, and that's it. Bronson Reed is not going to be back anytime soon, so it's time to get Logan Paul back to doing what he's very good at and being just a full heel singles run on the main roster. And it's time to really look at Austin Theory and go, what can we do with you? Because we've put you in a lot of positions to succeed, and it's not working. And that's not necessarily his fault. That's not necessarily WWE, writing's fault. Like, they've given a lot of opportunities, and he's taken a lot of opportunities. He can run with it, but it's just not working. It's time to do something completely different. So, and new.
All right. Let's stay with some tag team wrestling, but now it is a 6-woman tag team match. You have on one side the former WWE Women's Champion Jade Cargill with her partners Michin and B-Fab, and they will be taking on the current WWE Women's Champion. Rhea Ripley, of course, she will be tagged with the former WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. Of course, a lot of championships on that side, too. Like, not just those tag titles, a lot of championships. When you're talking about an all-star team, you got Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, and Alexa Bliss.
Yeah.
That's like 20 titles between, 25 titles between the two, all three of them. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Big opportunity, by the way, for B-Fab, Michin, and Jade Cargill to be in there with such stars. I think this match will go well. I'm anticipating that Rhea, Charlotte, and Alexa will come out on top in this match. Unless they want to pull some crazy stuff to try to move Michin and B-Fab or something over to a higher standing in the women's tag titles. I don't see the heel team winning here. Miss Sammy, what say you?
I see the heel team actually winning here because I feel like these type of feuds are going to continue on the path and just keep going for a little bit longer. So this is an opportunity for the heels to get a win.
Team Jade. I think that they're going to start slowly planting the seeds for Rhea and Charlotte to build that match for SummerSlam. And I think that this is where it starts, that the accidental, like let's say Charlotte accidentally hits Rhea takes the pin. You build from there.
Although what you could do if you were going to build that up is you could borrow a page from an old Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage trope where you have Rhea accidentally hit Alexa and then Charlotte takes Alexa out. So then it leaves Rhea by herself to then get pinned. So that way, mommy gets pinned, but it's because of a misunderstanding. And yeah, you could do it that way. I would do it that way just because we haven't seen that in a while.
I was going to ask
Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth.
Yeah. Ken, in your fantasy booking, do you see Alexa staying with Charlotte and all this? Because they have teased her and Rhea having sort of a connection together.
I could see her doing a double swerve. Like she's going to go fake, like she's going to help Rhea and then ultimately turns on her. Because I think both Charlotte and her are better as heels. And I think that them trying to do the face storyline, I just don't think that works. I think that you have to really make them heels, and then I don't know what you do if you move them on brands, or I still have a weird suspicion that Io Sky is winning Money in the Bank to just get to SmackDown. And then you build up something there.
Makes sense. Makes sense to me. Next up is, as of right now, of the time of us doing this live and recording, is a non-title match featuring your WWE Women's Intercontinental Champion, the man, Big Time Bex, the best women's wrestler ever. She's not just the only one saying it. So isn't Sports Illustrated. So isn't Bleacher Report. Becky Lynch taking on, listen, I'll be honest, one of the hottest up-and-comers in the women's division and possibly all of wrestling, Sol Ruca. I will say this. They've done a good job of building this mini feud up to come into Saturday Night's Main Event. And then I think they kind of telegraphed not having the title on the line. Because that's telling to me, but I'm going last on this one, so we'll start with you, Miss Sammy. Who do you have winning at Saturday Night's Main Event?
Yeah, if we go into the Saturday Night's Main Event, and at this point I would assume we are, with the title not being on the line, then Sol Ruca is going to win. If somehow the title does get involved in this match, then Becky is going to win.
Ken?
I agree with Sammy. I think as long as this is non-title, Sol's going to win because they can build this up for a pay-per-view match. But if this does magically get added as a title match, Becky's retaining under shenanigans.
I will say this. I think that the telegraph is that Sol's going to win because the belt's not on the line. However, if they decide to put the belt on the line, I think Sol still wins. I think the smart money, and I think we all said this when Becky won the belt back, put over somebody, that's the workhorse title. Becky Lynch, doesn't need to be Intercontinental Champion.
Right.
You could utilize her just to put people over and to, as a star, whether she's in the main event or not, she is an attraction. She, however you feel, she's just that. She's one of the best women's wrestlers to ever live. And they've utilized that very well, and she utilized that very well. Then what you need to do is get that next generation brought up, and she's not had a problem doing that. Remember, she had a great feud and rivalry with Lyra Valkyria. She knows how to put young talent over.
Yeah.
If you decide to put the belt on the line at this point, because you've already telegraphed it, I think you have to have Sol win, but it's a way to boost Sol to that next level. That belt I hate it because it sounds like I'm saying the belt's going to make Sol. Sol is already a star on the rise. The belt's not going to make her. It's going to solidify the fact that she's a star.
Yeah.
So I think that she could handle the weight of being champion, and that frees Becky up to do some other amazing things, whether that's get Soul further over, get other young talent further over, or get back into that championship picture, the main title picture. Because let's be honest, we have a ton of talented women, but we don't have storylines going across. Like,
Yeah.
I'm intrigued to see maybe a Becky Lynch and Stephanie Vakir feud to get that shot. You know what I mean? It's another young, talented, over wrestler, Stephanie Vakir, going up against the wily veteran in Becky Lynch. And the sooner we can get to things like that and other things, I think that the better. So that's why I would pick Sol Ruca no matter what. But I think they telegraphed it because they didn't put the belt on the line. So it's a way to Sol Ruca to win. Then she can tell Becky, oh, you said I didn't earn it. Well, I beat you. So now I did earn it. And it's just a way to like prolong this feud, which I'm fine with, but I just wish they didn't telegraph it.
Yeah, I agree.
Because if they would come in the whole time as for the Intercontinental title, I would agree with you. Becky would win by shenanigans to carry the feud on. But now you've kind of backed yourself in the corner.
Isn't it just kind of interesting how some wrestlers, when they make the main roster or in AEW or anywhere, like they benefit from having a belt, but then you have those other guys like the Obafemi where it's like, oh, he doesn't need a belt right now. He's going to get one, but he doesn't need it. Whereas somewhere like a Trick Williams, it just only adds that just little bit of spice to just make it that much better. And Sol Ruca would benefit from that as well. It's just fascinating how wrestling works.
By the way, we will talk about Obafemi in a minute because obviously there's big news there. But the thing of the matter is, I would say this: there is times where somebody is such an attraction, and I'm not saying Oba shouldn't be champion; he will be champion, but he is so over and such an attraction right away that it's like lightning in a bottle. It's going to sound bad, but don't take this away because I'll explain it. It reminds me a lot of Ryback, but with more talent. Hear me out.
With a lot more talent.
Well, yeah. Listen, I don't think Oba's going the route of Ryback. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, remember, Ryback came up and he was gigantic juggernaut. They treated him like Bill Goldberg, as they should have, right? And then you can partially due to his lack of knowing what the hell he was doing, and also partially to the fact that they turned him heel at the wrong time. It kind of just stalled that. I don't think they're going to make that same mistake with Oba, and also Oba is a lot better in the ring. So don't think I'm comparing the two like in ring wise. No, I'm just talking about that rocket ship where you're like, oh, this guy can be the next Bill Goldberg, if you will. And the reason I use Bill Goldberg because remember the gigantic streak.
Yes. So before anyone jumps all over Rich in the comments, we've discussed it at length that the pairing of Oba, Brock, and Paul Heyman was very critical, and that is more the path they are taking. Go back and watch old Brock Lesnar stuff. That's what they're doing with Oba.
Oh, absolutely. But that's why I said I don't want people going,
Don't jump on Rich.
You have to go back to that time period where Ryback was the most over thing in wrestling. The feed me more was a thing. As long as you kept his matches to under 5 minutes, like Goldberg. Although with Oba, he has talent. Just throwing it out there. Bill Goldberg, don't come for me because if you do, I'll just stick Bret Hart back on you.
Well, it's fascinating that you say that because obviously Goldberg, Bret Hart, but Ryback and CM Punk are very similar in that manner. And CM Punk is big fans of Bret Hart. It's a weird connection.
It is. I mean, we'll see. Pepsi Phil might get more cynical in his older age. You never know. But think about it. He wasn't wrong. And I always loved that comment from the infamous podcast when he was like, you're either hurting me on purpose or you're the dumbest mother effer alive. Which is it? And he's like, I'm dumb.
all I can think of now is CM Punk's comment where he's like, he dumped me and tilted my effing pelvis. I'm like...
Well, yeah.
It's the way he says it about him. It's just so funny. Oh, man. Ryback, what a time.
This is a comic book outlet, as we've always said. And, we do some other things, including this wrestling show. Thank you for watching. But let's be honest. Bret Hart is the Alan Moore of wrestling.
Yes.
Because if you know anything about Alan Moore, saltiest man on the planet, Bret Hart. Same. But listen, I defend the right of Bret Hart to be salty. The reason why is because he earned that right.
That's true.
Don't come.
Sold a lot of sunglasses.
He sold a lot of sunglasses. Listen, you got to remember. I know we're getting off track here, but sometimes we'd like to go off the rails. I will say this: he came off of an era that was dominated by larger than life megastars, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man. Although Macho Man was height wise normal, he wasn't jacked like he later on was. But you know what I mean. Yeah. But like Bret Hart was after the immortal one, Hulk Hogan. Captured everybody's hearts and imaginations and I hate to say it this way because he's an athlete and he's obviously damn good, but as a normal sized person, Like Hulk is larger than life. Ultimate Warrior, larger than life. Before that, Andre the Giant, larger than like wrestling was full of all these larger than life people. And Brett was kind of, I don't want to say every man, but for wrestling, smaller. Same with Shawn Michaels. Like the era of the athletic, smaller guy came in, and that's because the testament of the connection with the fans that Bret the Hitman Hart had. So giving him all the credit in the world, and the fact that he could make anybody look like $1 million, and he did it time and time again. He gets to be a little salty. Yeah. Is all I'm saying. He's earned the right for the salt.
Yeah, and obviously wrestling today still really embraces that style of wrestling more than that previous period. They embrace that previous period in other ways, but from the wrestling and ring perspective, it's definitely Bret and Shawn. I mean, you always go to Bret and Shawn.
It's wild because you're right. Because nowadays we're looking, and we're going to talk about this in what I'm presuming is the main event of the evening in a second. You're looking at guys who are athletic and do athletic things, but aren't like, I hate to say it because they're athletes and they're in great shape, but they're not these like larger than life. Obafemi is a throwback to the larger than life, which is great. Yes. That's why I think we all love Obafemi, because he can get it done in the ring. He's athletic as hell, but at the same time, he's also this larger than life, almost in a way, in a great way, like a cartoon character. He like if in the once again, comic book outlet, if we had a comic book hero that looked like Obafemi, oh yeah, there's no ends to what that man can do. And now, but though we look at that athleticism, he has that athleticism, but at the same time, we're going to talk about this main event here, WWE Intercontinental Championship on the line. Your champion Penta taking on All Ego Ethan Page for the Intercontinental Championship. And this is a perfect example of where Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels' legacy leads. Obviously, a little more of the lucha for Penta, but Ethan Page, I don't think we're having this conversation about Ethan Page if those other two men didn't exist. And we found out in the Shawn Michaels doc how much Shawn Michaels has meant to Ethan Page's growth in his career, as well as how much he means to Ethan Page. So it does it goes there. And I will say, this has been one of the best built stories. Like usually we're going to Saturday night's main event and it's just, it is what it is. It's a spectacle. You have some big matches, call it a day. They've really built this story between Penta and Ethan Page with the tag matches, with the stolen victories, et cetera, et cetera. And then even this past week on Raw, that great Ethan Page sit down with Michael Cole.
Yeah.
Like Michael Cole going off script and Ethan Page, uncharacteristically of the character that we've seen so far, going from the cocky, arrogant heel to just serious. And it was like, not that we knew he could, and not that we all in this room didn't think he could do that, but it was cool to see that and how great it went over. And that made me super more excited for this, but I don't get to go first here. Ken M, you do. Who is walking out of Fort Wayne, Indiana, your Intercontinental Champion? He's doing it.
Here's the thing. Since Ethan Page has come to NXT, he has really reinvented himself to the degree about winning over fans and especially maximizing his time on television. That he has had all the success in the world in NXT and now coming to the main roster in a time where, let's face it, we've talked about this at length, creatively bankrupt. He has put him and Penta both, because it takes two to make this work. They have put together a phenomenal storyline, and especially that promo he did with Michael Cole. We got to see a different side of him, and I really think that they're going to make a change here. And it's nothing against Penta, because Penta's been a great Intercontinental Champion. However, having him chase Ethan Page for the summer for the belt, that's a great storyline. Javon Evans going after Ethan. Rusev, you never know what he's going to wind up doing. You now have multiple contenders going after a champion that's going to win in nefarious ways, lucky ways, and it's going to be entertaining because I think that he knows what's at stake here. He's now been given the second biggest title on the brand for the highest mid-card title he can have. He's going to run with this like nobody's seen because he wants to elevate himself even higher, and he's going to prove it to everybody in the WWE universe. I think it's going to be a phenomenal match. I think he wins by some kind of weird shenanigans, but I'm here for it. All Ego is taking home the belt.
Before I give my pick, I will say this. I want to say this. Penta is the most over wrestler that has come to WWE for the first time. And I'm not talking about just from the other company. I'm not talking if you think about it, and I'm not talking about coming through NXT. He came to WWE and it was instantly a megastar.
Mm-hmm.
He was over with the crowd instantly, even crowds that didn't know who he was. He got over the Cero Miedo.
Yep.
He got everything going, and it speaks volumes to who Penta is. Penta is a phenomenal in-ring performer, and he's a phenomenal character. The gimmick is there. Because think about it. We're talking about a man who cuts most of his promos in mostly Spanish because English is his second language. And he is still over. Where we were told before that, oh, if you don't speak English, you can't get that over. Oh, I call bullshit. Penta has done it.
Yeah.
Right. And that speaks volume to who Penta is and why he deserves and needs to be where he's at. I don't think our loss here hurts him at all because Penta's is a rocket ship to himself, and the company knows that. The money's there. He's one of those top sellers, which we're going to be talking about a little bit later on, but he's one of those top sellers and everything else. Ethan Page, though, I think he's proving that he could be a generational talent. We all thought when he came in, he was going to be the evolution of the Miz, and I don't think that WWE has that in the cards. I think WWE looks at him and goes, "Hey, he's a multi-tool player, and he could very well be a main eventer." To your point, I think he goes over because you need to start that ascension, or you need to start to see if that ascension is possible. I think that you have a lot of built-in feuds with Ethan with that title, and I think this also frees Penta up to do things. We talked about attractions earlier. Penta's an attraction. You can put Penta in there with no belt on the line, and you're going to watch that match. Penta puts asses in seats, whether he's champion or not. And I'm not saying that Ethan needs the belt to get over. I'm just saying they're both at this spot where you can move Penta on so he can start knocking on the door of the main event scene. Even if he's not quite in, he can knock down that door and be in bigger matches. And you can start seeing if you can raise Ethan Page through the ranks. And I think they're in a good spot for that. And I think that I think that we're talking about telegraphing earlier. I think they telegraphed that and they're showing that here, which is in a good way, though. Miss Sammy, you're up last. Who you got walking out of Saturday Night's Main Event, the WWE Intercontinental Champion?
Yeah, it's definitely all ego Ethan Page. And to see someone skyrocket like that, because I mean, even when he joined NXT, he really had a rocket strapped to him. It was pretty quick that he was, counted on in important situations and given title runs and such. And now here he is on the main roster. He's been here for maybe finishing his cup of coffee. Like the coffee's still hot, and he's already most likely going to win the title this weekend, the Intercontinental title, the Workhorseman title. And so I think that's an amazing situation for him. On the flip side with Penta, you touched on it where, Penta is over. And if you think about it, Penta's first language is not English. He wears a mask. And to be able to just get that much charisma and to connect that strongly with the audience, it means a ton. WWE, I know they have other plans for him this year. This is not the last we'll see Penta. And there's been talk of WWE looking to rebuild their tag team division as they need to because it's completely decimated right now. And we're all kind of predicting here the possibility of the Street Profits walking away with titles. Street Profits versus Penta and his brother is a pretty good match. You put the Usos back together, that's a pretty good match. So I think if you're really looking to rebuild your tag team division, you're really looking at Ray, someone who from an in-ring perspective is potentially more talented than Penta, and you put those two together and you have the in-ring abilities of just some of the greatest in the business with that amount of charisma from Penta, I think Ray will shine better. And wow, you are off and running.
Well, speaking of off and running, of course, this Saturday will be Saturday Night's Main Event. Next week, we will recap it on the show of what actually goes down. We got some other news to talk about in the world of WWE, and we alluded to it earlier. Of course, the big news, I guess, that came out of Monday Night Raw, the reports of a man's retirement were greatly exaggerated as Brock Lesnar returned to get his 10 pounds of flesh off of Oba Femi. I did not have this on my bingo card. I did not have this on anything. I honestly, I'm going to be honest. It was one of those moments in wrestling that made me go, holy shit, this is happening. Kudos. I don't know if it was Brock's idea to sow the swerve for the retirement. We had we had speculated that possibly he went into business for himself on the retirement, which not in a bad way. He earned that right. But at some point in juncture, or if this was the creatively bankrupt hitting a home run for once in recent memories. But either way, I thought this was a big moment. Ken, I see your mouth's open. Go ahead.
The thing about this is it was brilliant because nobody saw this coming. For everybody that thinks they know wrestling, they threw a nice surprise at us. And this was a surprise. Now, where we go from here is anybody's guess, but it's Brock being Brock. He's going to probably cut a promo saying, I don't have to listen to anybody. I do what I want. I'm Brock Lesnar. And now you set up that match with Obafemi. And then after that, we're back to talk maybe Brock Gunther at SummerSlam. Who knows? But there's a lot of doors open here, and especially for Oba. This is going to be a great test for him. And then if they want to run a trilogy match, then you can do that.
I dig. Miss Sammy.
I think you just hit the nail on the head there, Ken. A trilogy of matches here. This was, from the creatively bankrupt company. This is really smart in a lot of ways. First off, the segment alone, obviously, no one saw it coming, and it played out amazing. Brock just out of nowhere, taking out Oba, dominating him in the ring, like just shock and awe. Number one. And number two, it kind of bails out WWE in a way, because if you run it back with Brock and Brock wins, you have to go for the third, and there's your SummerSlam match. And what that also does is it gives Oba time to stay away from that main event because it's a little crowded right now. And it gives him more time to just get comfortable on the main roster and everyone else to get comfortable with the fact that Obafemi is going to be champion probably by the end of the year.
I agree. I mean, it might not be the end of the year, but definitely in the next year sometime. But I will say I like the trifecta. I don't know if you go to Gunther versus Brock at SummerSlam now, if that's really going to be the retirement match. I think you do do Oba versus Brock, and you have the perfect trifecta of matches. You have Oba get beat down here. You could have Oba get beat down again by Brock. Comes into a second match injured, if you will. Not legit injured, but
storyline injured.
You put it over. Brock wins. And then that pushes the match. And you could even do that stipulation. You got to put something on the line. I thought I retired you at WrestleMania. How about career versus career even? It'd be kind of wild because Obafemi is a young guy. I mean, it normally would be telegraphing, but it would be a good way to force that.
Mm-hmm.
And then
wait, let's do a little history here. Brock can't challenge for the belt if Roman has it, right? Isn't that a stipulation? So if Brock tries to enter the King of the Ring tournament thinking he could win right to face him at SummerSlam to get around that, and Oba screws him out of it, so he has to fight Oba at SummerSlam. There you go.
You're onto something there, because you could do the match. You could do the second match, have Brock go over. Brock enters the King of the Ring, going, it's a loophole, and then Oba costs him. Now you fast forward that into SummerSlam, where you can get Brock mad enough to put his career on the line. I think if that was the goal, that speaks a better story. And also, like you said, it keeps Oba away from the world title, because that way you don't have to push him there, because then you're booked him through the summer. So then you can then start pushing him towards the world title. Not to mention he's over. I think it's less that he's ready. You can make him world champion tomorrow, and I think he'd be over.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
No ifs, ands, or buts. But here's the thing: if you can stretch out this heat wave and momentum for him, that is the key. That is the way to go. That doesn't mean he has to be undefeated either. That's why a loss to Brock won't hurt at all. But if you can stretch out that momentum and listen to the crowd react to him.
Oh yeah, no, completely.
Hell, listen to the crowd react when Lesnar came back. There was an initial oh shit, a pop, but then it was they were booing him out in the building.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you're going after the guy that we have coronated. He is our ruler. Obafemi's the ruler here. And I dug it. I thought that it was very well put together. And like you said, we talk about creative bankruptcy all the time in WWE, but a broken clock's right twice a day.
Yeah.
Well, this is a Paul Heyman thing because it's Brock. So,
Yeah, I guarantee Paul Heyman was it. Well, Paul Heyman's not creative anyways. We know this because of Unreal. That's the only bad part about Unreal. We got to see who's in the room.
That's true.
That makes you wonder sometimes in the creativity and who's not putting out, because in that room is some pretty talented, people.
Do you think he just leaves the room when his guys are done? He's like, all right, I'm out of here. Have a good rest of your meeting.
I think if you want to make it, and it's going to sound wild because everybody. I love Paul Heyman, but I think if you put it in mob terms, Paul Heyman is the consigliere of WWE. I don't think anything happens in that company without his input. And whether they take his input is a different, but I think he sits. I think he's
his piece one way. Or
I think
another.
if you think about it, think about his Hall of Fame speech. It gave a lot away. I think he sits to he sits to the right of Paul Levesque, no matter what. He said he was a Paul Levesque guy, and I think that is what I think. Paul Levesque, speaking of Triple H, I think his rise to power and his prominence was because he was smart enough to keep the smartest guys in the room around him. On his right, you have Paul Heyman. On his left, you have William Regal. There is no better talent scout in the world than William Regal, and there is no better mind in professional wrestling than Paul Heyman. And whether you can listen to those men all the time, the fact that they have his ears is what makes him successful. Once again, though, I feel like part of the creative bankruptcy is not Triple H and his inner core. It is when TKO gets involved from the outside.
Yeah.
We've talked about that before. I think they want too many celebrities. I think they want too many things and they're watering down the product. And that seems to be what's messing it up. So I'm not letting them completely off the hook because you're never going to hit 100%.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No.
As much as Tony Khan has been booking an amazing show, and we're going to talk about Double or Nothing in a little bit. There's still some things that make me scratch my head. Like there's certain people he hands a microphone to, and I'm like, why in the hell would you hand that person a microphone? And Dynamite was a perfect example of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm just saying and once again, I get it. You have to try to get people over, but sometimes not every idea works. Not every idea works. Just throwing it out there. Let's move on to we got a couple more touch on base. I want to touch on something that Sammy brought up. We're going to dive into this probably a little more coming up in the upcoming weeks because obviously this is a jam-packed week. But I do want to touch. There's a lot of rumors going around on the internet about returns to WWE specifically. Going around right now in no particular order. We've heard a possibility return of Big Cass and Enzo. That one was out of left field. We've heard the return of possibly Killer Cross and also Baron Corbin. Those have all been heavily rumored in the last week. I just want to get a pulse of the room. We're going to be talking about some rumors and stuff and innuendos coming up in the upcoming weeks because obviously we're watching these develop, but we have a big week here. I just want to get a temp in the room, and I know Miss Sammy's been keeping her eyes on these things. Are you buying or selling these things?
Okay. Enzo and Big Cass, I'm buying. And it's been reported Enzo's been at the Performance Center. Big Cass, it's been noted that his contract with AEW is probably about to run out. Clearly, they're not going to do anything more with him than what they've already done. I think he's had a good run there, but they don't book big guys well there. And WWE, they don't have a tag team division anymore. So bring the guys in that'll be over like crazy, and they will be one of the top merch sellers by the end of the year. In the era of social media driven content, and just think about it this way. Jey Uso got a world title run off of 4 letters, 1 word, yee. What are Big Cass and Enzo gonna do? They were all kinds of just crazy quips and segments and one-liners and everything. Oh boy. Killer Cross. I'm not buying that one. I guess maybe I guess that's a maybe. Like you want to go back and do the same thing you were doing before because they got rid of Aleister Black. So does someone just have to fill that role? So you did it, and then Aleister's doing it, and now you're gonna do it. Whatever. Baron Corbin's the interesting one though, because a great person, just an absolutely great individual, great worker, but what are you gonna do with them? So I'm intrigued by that one.
Got him.
All right, Enzo and Cass buying. And just if you want to talk about the promo battle, Enzo versus Danhausen. I'm just saying, CM Punk and Enzo is going to happen at some point, and that's going to be one for the ages. But I just say with Danhausen character and Enzo character, that could be fun. That's just going to roll in money.
Cup of haters.
Yeah, say what you will. Their gimmick when they came up from NXT, they were the hottest tag team in WWE. Granted, things happened after, but I think the nostalgia will be there for them. I think that they will get over the TKO administration big time, and I think they're going to make them a lot of money in merch. So I would say they are lock. Is probably out of the 3 that we've mentioned, they're the easiest lock to come back. Karrion Kross is a very interesting question. because like Sammy alluded to, does he come back just for the same gimmick? And then where do we go from here with it? I honestly think him and Scarlett are way better off going to AEW because they really don't have a character like him in AEW right now. And they would be able to let him loose a little bit and you get what you get. Baron Corbin, see, I would love to see Baron Corbin come back because he's much like in the same context of the Big Show or anybody that's well versatile they could flip characters at a drop of a dime. He's a great utility player for the roster, and you can put him in any storyline, he'll get over. The thing I am fearing is the rumor of how he would come back, and that's as the gingerbread man coming back alive. I have heard that.
I don't know if I buy that, but I understand the fear.
I would say if he's coming back for that, just say no. Just no. The gimmick did not get over with Sammy and Trick. It's not over now, and even if Danhausen goes near it, it's still not going to work.
Okay, so I would go in reverse just because you brought that up. Baron Corbin, I can see coming back. I hate to say it, I do not like the gingerbread gimmick, except for if you use it as just a way for him to enter a program with Trick Williams. Like if you can use it quickly as like he's just in the costume and then he comes out of the costume and then you literally, that's what we get. And we get a Trick Williams, Baron Corbin program out of it. I think that's great for both of them. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a silver lining. I don't like the first part and I don't trust the creative in WWE.
Yeah, exactly.
But I will say this, Baron Corbin is one of those guys who left and he has shown that he is a guy. Like we all know that he's a quality worker. We know that he's a steady hand, if you will. He's a reliable guy. But I think he's really shown that within his time gone from WWE that he can survive without the company, which makes him more attractive to said company.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen that in the past. I don't know. I think if he stays away longer, I think if it's bad and he stays away longer, it could also help more for him coming back as more of a main event guy and not coming back. And this is not like to disparage, but coming back in the way of Matt Cardona, where he's not a top guy, but he's a solid mid card guy, right? I think that there could be some value for him holding out, is what I'm saying. I could also understand if he wants to take the bag, right? Yeah. Brings me to the lock that we've also think is lock. I think that you have a lock for sure with Enzo and Big Cass. I would think that would be a no-brainer. Builds a tag division, gives you some entertainment. The only issue that you could ever see arise from that is that there was a very nasty breakup between himself and Corey Graves' current wife. But here's the thing: she's already burned a lot of bridges with WWE, rightfully so or unrightfully so, depending upon, I'm not going to dive into who's right and who's wrong, right? And we all know that Corey Graves is always 1 foot out the door because the company falls in and out of love with him constantly. And I'm not saying, I don't think that's a good thing because I like Corey Graves personally. Yeah. I think as a commentator, he's very good. But the company, shafts him a lot. So they might just do it to push him out the door. Who knows? I'm saying that that's the only problem I could see. But if you're talking about locks, of all the people, I think they are. Killer Cross. Here's what I think. I think WWE would offer him a spot. Because obviously, if they're looking to put somebody back over, I don't think that I would take the spot. I don't see him going to AEW because there's a conflict between Don Callis and Scarlett.
Oh, forgot about that. Okay.
So I don't see, that's why he's not there, I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah.
However, since he's left, and I've brought this up before, and this is no shot because I love Killer Cross. I love the gimmick. I love the wrestler. I think he's an amazing human being. Because he's very, if you read his book and stuff, very, very amazing human being. Problem is, I don't think he's gone out and really made himself the main eventer. Like we said, he's wrestled very few times. I think that he had to go out and grab the world by the balls. And I don't think he's done that yet. I think he can. I think he can go out there and he can win some championships somewhere else. I think I would like to see him return to TNA and maybe have a run on top there. Because that run on top, as well as some indie stuff, would make you the main eventer coming back to WWE. I think if he comes back for another mid-card spot, it's going to end in disappointment again. Because he'll get over, but will the company push him?
Yeah.
I think you have to make yourself undeniable. And I don't think that he has done that.
especially now with the emphasis on NXT talent moving up and giving a fair shakedown on the main roster. It's easy to get lost in the sauce. And you have to look at a guy like Miro, Rusev, who came back, and it was very easy for him to just like phone it in and disappear. And he's had to work very hard on the main roster. And would they do that for him? That's a good question.
That's why I said I think he just has a little bit more to prove, and not in a bad way, because I think, like I said, I think he's an amazing human being. Like, honestly, in and out of the ring, I think he's a great worker. I think he's great on the mic. I just think that he hasn't put himself where he needs to be. He hasn't made himself. Well, yes, but I'm just saying I don't think that he's become undeniable yet. Cody Rhodes, the undesirable, the undeniable. I think you have to become undeniable at some point. Well, that's going to leave me with one last thing, and this is for Ken M and myself mostly. The biggest star in all of pro wrestling is making the waves because, ladies and gentlemen, it's not a gimmick. The curse is real. Danhausen has caught the imagination of not just wrestling fans who are making him the number one selling merch person in the company. No. He's catching fire and catching the minds of quote unquote real sports fans as his curse and uncursing of the New York Knicks, as well as cursing the Cleveland Cavaliers, has paid off in dividends. Ken M, as a fellow New York Knicks fan, love that Danhausen is going crazy in the world of sports.
He will have a statue in front of Madison Square Garden along with Jalen Brunson if they win the chip. I'm just going to put it out there right now. The Danhausen curse is real, folks. And the fact that he has now taken his talents to Madison Square Garden, uncursed the franchise. So far, he still needs that front row seat. So, Knicks fans, we need to make this happen. Get him front row.
Well, no, they got him courtside, and they got him the jersey. He now wants to sit between Kylie and Timothy Chalamet.
That's why I say he wants that seat. We need to make this happen because we're going to need this to get that chip. And then he's going to be a Madison Square Garden legend. They can put his jersey up in the rafters. This is phenomenal. And if nobody believes this is the star that should have been in AEW, WWE, this is why he's flourishing. This is why they wanted him so badly. Forget that debut in Chicago that night and the boos that happened. He is literally your most over talent on your roster right now.
Currently in the as we are live and recording for those watching us recording, it is in the second quarter of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Cavs and Knicks. The game is tied 31-31. We'll have to see if there's another 22-point comeback. Hopefully not giving me a heart attack, but we'll see if there is for the curse. Sammy, Dan, I know you're not a huge basketball fan, but Danhausen making the rounds in the grander world. It has to be big things, right?
So I may not be the biggest basketball fan, but I am a huge Danhausen fan. And we've touched on this before. WWE started this partnership with ESPN. And if you look at the WWE roster, and this is not a knock on Danhausen because Danhausen is an athlete as well. But if you look at that roster, there are some amazingly talented athletes on that roster. There are some athletes on that roster that have, a great pedigree in other sports, and the crossover potential is amazing. And it's Danhausen. It's Danhausen that's making the crossover. It's Danhausen making the leap. And I love Danhausen's character. And I love that character so much because I love Pee Wee Herman. I love Elvira. I love these kind of 80s cheesy characters where they just, exist and people just kind of accept this. Oh yeah, that's just who they are, even though it's completely ridiculous. I love that. And I think at some point Netflix is going to come calling going, hey, you got to put that guy on Netflix. And we want to talk about him having his own show. And I think I said Tales from the Crypt, with Danhausen or something like that. That's all possible. And it might get to a point where Danhausen or WWE needs Danhausen more than Danhausen needs WWE, and that can be a lot of fun too.
That'd be amazing.
Absolutely. Overall, though, that's as a Knicks fan, I'm hoping that the curse carries over and it continues to have the Knicks winning. So thank you, Danhausen. We definitely love that Danhausen. All right, We have one last piece of business that we need to talk about here. And of course, it's a big piece of business as this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time from Queens, New York at the Louis Armstrong Stadium, we have AEW's Double or Nothing 2026. And it's a big card. Once again, 12 matches on the card, 3 on the pre-show listed so far. That means if you're doing the quick math, 9 on the main card. Lady and gent, are you ready to talk about Double or Nothing?
Let's go.
Hell yeah.
All right, so we're gonna the pre-show matches we're gonna lump together. We'll just talk about them as an overall, kind of save some time, and then we'll talk about the main card. All right. So the 3 pre-show matches that are listed so far is first up is a women's tag team eliminator match where your AEW women's tag team champions Divine Dominion, Megan Bain and Lena Cross are going to take on Zeta Steel and Viva Van. Of course, if they can outlast the 5 minutes or beat the champs within the 5 minutes, they will get a future shot at the AEW Women's World Tag Team Championships. Then we have a 10-man tag team extravaganza as one of our favorites, Shane Taylor Promotions, Shane Taylor, Anthony Ogogo, Captain Sean Dean, Carly Bravo, and Lee Moriarty take on the conglomeration, Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, and Roderick Strong, and they will be teaming with Boom and Doom, Big Boom AJ, and QT Marshall. And then last but not least on this, we will have a trios match where the Death Riders, Claudio Castagnoli, Daniel Garcia, and Wheeler Yuta will take on the Ops, Anthony Bowens, Hook, and Shibata. Pretty good pre-show card. Of course, we got to get Boom and Doom on there. I'm always happy to see STP as well. And my biggest concern here before I pass it around is, do we have enough eliminator matches for Divine Dominion? Like, let's just put them in matches because they're that damn good. So that's my takeaways. Sammy, your thoughts on pre-show?
I just want to remind everyone that this happens on Sunday night, and for the U.S. audience, you are off on Monday, so enjoy the entire show.
Some people are off on Monday. Rich is not off on Monday. Ken, you're probably off on. Well, maybe not. Who knows?
Define off. I mean, if I'm not working somewhere, I'm doing something else. But for this card, I mean, Zeta Steel on pre-show, I'm a big fan of hers, so I'm excited to see what happens there. I do agree with you. Way too many eliminator matches. We don't need so many. And if you're going to do a pre-show, why not do a big old 10-man tag and have some fun with it? Because that's all you're going to get out of this match, which is perfectly fine.
Yeah, I'm fine. Like I said, I am fine with the pre-show. Don't take it that I'm not. All right, let's start the main card. We're going to start with talking about the AEW International Championship match. Your champion, the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada, taking on Konosuke Takeshita, the Alpha. This bit has just been boiling over. The Don Callis family explodes. Sammy, you get to go first here. Who's leaving Queens, your AEW International Champion?
It's time. And new.
You say it's Takeshita time. All right, Ken M.
Alpha is taking some money home. He is going to be new as well.
I'm going to complete the trifecta. I got new international champion Takeshita because I think it's about damn time that they did something with Takeshita.
Yeah.
I don't know how much more he has to do around the world before you do something with him. All right, next up is the AEW World Tag Team Championship match, and it is an I Quit match with a stipulation on the line. I'll get to that in a second. Your champions, the FTR, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler, taking on Cage and Cope, Adam Copeland, and Christian Cage. And if Christian Cage and Adam Copeland lose, they must retire as a tag team. So they either walk out AEW World Tag Team Champions in this I Quit match, or they retire as a tag team. Ken, you're in the hot seat first. Who's leaving Double or Nothing, the AEW World Tag Team Champions?
I knew. They're not going to break up Cope and Christian until they get to Wembley. That's the whole deal. So this is going to be an entertaining match, nevertheless. A lot of near falls. FTR is going to pull out all the stops for this one. But with that stipulation, I just don't think it's time yet.
I'm going to say and new because same reasons. I don't think they're going to break them up. And I think that we're going to get, if we're lucky, I think we're going to get a massive 3-team maybe ladder match in Wembley.
Yep.
So FTR versus Cope and Cage versus Young Bucks. And if you throw a ladder in the mix, or if you make a TLC, if you will, that'll put asses in seats. You're up last here, Miss Sammy. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm going with and new as well. In both AEW and WWE, there's been some reshuffling of the deck, and I think this is where these titles shift as well to also continue with just those reshuffling of the decks.
It is of course Double or Nothing. So where would we be at Double or Nothing if we didn't have a Stadium Stampede match? They had to get it in there. Of course, on one side of the match, we have the Bucks of Jericho, or is it Y2 Jackson, as Chris Jericho and Nick and Matt Jackson will also be teaming with the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, and of course the other members of the Elite, Kenny Omega and Jungle Jack Perry, to take on The Demand, Ricochet, Bishop Kaun, and Toa Leona. Then the Don Callis family, Mark Davis, and the IWGP Global Champion, Andrade Alilo. I forgot to say Mark Davis is also your AEW National Champion. And then, of course, last but certainly not least, the Dogs, Clark Connors and David Finlay. So I get to go first here. And once again, you know what? Every year I'm like, why do they do it? And every year, I will be honest, we're always entertained by the match.
Mm-hmm.
It is never like it's never like a great match, but it's an over the top fun match. So I'm expecting that here. I'm going to say that it's a coin flip here. I could see this going either way. I'm going to pick the faces though, since it's just going to be a fun match. I think the faces go over because why the hell not? Sammy, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the faces go over here. Why not? Although I remember once upon a time they had a bar segment in a Stadium Stampede. I'd love for them to kind of recapture that, and maybe Hangman makes an appearance sitting in the bar. That'd be kind of cool. Doesn't have to come back after that, just to be there.
Just to be in the bar, hanging out, drinking, and then, maybe spitting some whiskey in someone's face or something. That'd be cool. Go ahead, Ken.
See, my question is, what's going to be the soundtrack for this? Because you know that they've always had a great soundtrack for these matches. I mean, this is where Drowning Pool came back with Bodies.
I have it. No Sleep
Okay.
Till Brooklyn.
I that's what I was going to say. You got to do something like that. It's got to be Beastie Boys. I mean, maybe even some to the late Ace Frehley back in the New York groove.
Yeah, I think you got to do something New York.
Yeah, you got it. You have to do something New York. I mean, even Nas. I mean, I'd love to hear.
Ooh, Major Look.
Yeah, you hear that?
Jericho does like Kiss, so Ace Frehley, that's a good one.
Yeah. My cameo would be Eddie Kingston.
It's New York.
Just somewhere doing something because it's Eddie Kingston in New York.
Maybe Eddie Kingston and Hangman Page drinking together at the bar.
Yeah. Just give me something like that. I need a real New York moment. So that being said, who wins? We do. But all right. But for purposes, I'm just going to say Team Jericho.
I just want to throw this out there. We might have been onto something here. Could you imagine the segment is like the dogs come fighting through the bar area, and it's Eddie Kingston and Adam Page drinking together, and they somehow knock the bottle over. So you just have a brawl.
you just see the bar get knocked over, and just the camera pans down to the bar, pans over to the dogs, and then pans over Eddie Kingston.
And then they have to back up. The dogs are like, oh, wait a minute.
Walk to the bar room. My bad.
Well, you know what you do? In that moment when they like bust into the bar, because obviously at this point it's all playing on the Titantron anyway, on the Jumbotron, it just completely shifts to a cinematic match. Like the quality and everything just shifts to that.
Yeah.
And you just totally have like a 3-minute bar fight scene in full cinematic mode.
Next up, we have the AEW Women's World Championship 4-way match. Your champion, the Toxic Spider Tekla, taking on Hikaru Shida, Jamie Hayter, and of course the former champion Chris Statlander. This is an interesting one. I was kind of surprised that they were going with a 4-way, but I'm all good with it, obviously. Miss Sammy, you are in the hot seat first. Who's leaving Queens, New York, your AEW Women's World Champion?
Come on, this is easy. It's Tekla. Tekla's retaining here, and the reason why they added more people is because it makes it easier for her to retain.
Good points. Ken M.
I'm Team Tekla. So and still.
Until I'm proven wrong. Tekla's my favorite. I said to my wife last night, we were watching it, and I'm like, Tekla just is over, and she's over in all the great ways, even when she's, unintentionally funny at times.
Yes.
And yes. It plays out into her favor. Of course, we all love the, I didn't get fired from Japan. Well, I did get fired from Japan, but it's such a great, she's such a great character and a great wrestler. So yeah, I hope that they continue to carry that on. So I'm not mad about that at all. Then we have the Owen Hart Cup matches. The Owen Hart Cup starts at the Double or Nothing, and it kicks off. There's 2 men's matches. We'll go over them first. The first of the 2 matches is going to be a quarterfinal match in the men's Owen Hart Cup, and it's Bandito taking on Swerve Strickland. Ken M, you are in the hot seats first. Who's advancing in the Owen Hart?
Swerve, no brainer here.
I'm also with you. No brainer for Swerve, the franchise. And Sammy.
Yeah, Swerve.
The other men's Owen Hart Cup quarterfinal, geez, it's hard to say all that together, is, of course, the bigger of the 2 matches, I would say, on paper. You have the Samoan submission machine and the leader of the Ops, Samoa Joe, taking on the newest member of the Death Riders, also known as the Aerial Assassin, and the Billy Goat, Will Ospreay. I get to go first here. Listen, I think this is going to be a tremendous match. It could steal the show. Samoa Joe and Will Ospreay are that damn good. I think that the whole point of this tournament this year is probably to take Will Ospreay to that next level anyways. Not that I'm saying he's not already a star. I'm just saying you got to build him towards Wembley, and I'm totally expecting that to be the case. Could be wrong. They might swerve us, right? Get it? They might swerve us. But I think Will Ospreay's walking out the winner here. Miss Sammy, who's winning and moving on in the Owen Hart?
You know, my gut wants to go with Ospreay, but I see a really strong scenario where Samoa Joe wins and where Ospreay kind of doubles down on this not being ready, doesn't really know if he's got his mojo thing, and that can work too. But my gut says Ospreay's winning this.
So we also have a women's Owen Hart Cup quarterfinal match. So the first of that tournament. And unfortunately, originally it was supposed to be champ versus champ, as the TBS champion Willow Nightingale was going to be taking on the NWJP Strong Women's Champion Alex Windsor. However, we got the bad news this past week on Dynamite that Willow Nightingale is out with an injury. So she's relinquishing the TBS championship and, of course, her spot in the Owen Hart. They have not announced who's going to be the wild card to enter, but they have replaced the match on the tournament. So the tournament match for Double or Nothing. So now in that quarterfinal match for the Owen Hart Cup, women's Owen Hart Cup, that is, we have Mina Sirakawa taking on the ROH Forever champion, Athena. Ken M, you're in the hot seat first. Who's moving on in the women's Owen Hart Cup?
Athena.
I'm also going with Athena here because I think it's time to just shit or get off the pot. Sammy.
Yeah, Athena. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with the TBS title and with Willow's spot.
In the match that could be the hardest hitting match of the night, and it was just put together this past week on Dynamite. Speaking of when eliminator matches pay off, because I literally dig the fact that this came out of a eliminator match and the survival of one. The AEW Continental Championship is on the line in a no time limit match. Remember, usually on pay-per-view, the time limit is 30 minutes. There is no time limit. Your champion, the leader of the Death Riders, Jon Moxley, taking on the conglomerations, Kyle O'Reilly. Listen, I thought this was a tremendous match. We've seen them wrestle before and on a pay-per-view, and it was tremendous. Kyle O'Reilly came up just short. Here we are again. We're in that position where he could possibly win this one. He did win the eliminator match by surviving 5 minutes. At the end of the match, we all were excited about it. I'm speaking for myself. I'm going to say it. And new Continental Champion coming out of Queens. Sammy, your pick.
I'm going in still, but I just don't think they've done enough to really build up Kyle O'Reilly enough since he's been there, really. But that's my personal opinion.
Ken M.
I'm going to say new because I think they got something in line for Moxley versus Ospreay on the way in the Owen. Just something's going to get messy there.
I like your points. I think to your point, Sammy. Yeah, I don't think that they've utilized, but the on again, off again, but also with some injuries, so it's not completely the company's fault. But I think this is the time where I think that they know that they have something. Kyle O'Reilly has been very over since he's returned from injury and being in the conglomeration. So I think that this is the time where you really can, hey, let's strap it to him and see. And to Ken's point, kind of my other going along with it is that I think that this opens up Jon Moxley for other things.
Yeah,
I think the Continental title kind of straps him down a little bit. Nothing against it. I know he's a great champion. He's obviously the heart and soul of AEW, but this opens him up to do so much more, in my opinion. All right, let's bring us to the main event of the evening. And we know this is the main event. And this match is title versus hair for the AEW World Championship. Your AEW World Champion, Darby Allin, taking on former AEW World Champion and the man who's putting his hair on the line. That, of course, would be the devil himself, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF. And listen, we were kind of critical of MJF dropping the belt to Darby Allin, rightfully so. Still don't like the squash. However, out of that has come, I've been critical about this title on the line every week nonsense. I still am not a huge fan because I think that it does kind of lessen it. I understand, he's a fighting champion. That's fine. I get it. But I feel like the championship is an attraction. And when you're giving shots to everybody, no offense to Speedball Mike Bailey, who we had a great match with on Dynamite this past week. No offense to Kevin Knight, who he had a great match with. No offense to Brody King, the list goes on. I think that they were great matches, but then you're looking at it like, did you really think Speedball was winning?
Yeah.
Did you really think Kevin Knight was winning? Did you really think that Brody King was winning? That was the only one that maybe, right? Outside of that, you're just putting him in there. The people are getting title shots that don't, I hate to say deserve because I like all those talent, but what did they do to get the title shot? Who'd he bait? In my best John Wayne Murdoch voice, This one though is the definition of main event because in between all of those detractions, I think we can all agree they have built a hell of a story between Darby and MJF. That's going to culminate at Double or Nothing. So the question is here, not just who can you get to you can in the hot seat first. Who's walking out? The AW World Champion, or better yet, who's walking out? If this MJF walking out was still having his hair.
Oh yeah, MJF's walking out with his hair. He's walking out with the belt. He's walking out with everything. Listen, the Darby story was a nice story while it lasted, but let's face it, MJF is going to go into Wembley as the number one heel in the company to take on the number one face, and we all know that's going to be Will Ospreay. So it's just a matter of getting from point A to point B. And it's nothing against Darby. He went a lot further with this. It's a great Cinderella story. The underdog has finally become champion. But at the end of the day, he's just better than him, and he knows it.
There was a problem there. I thought that Ken was going to break into the Caddyshack Bill Murray underdog story. Gonna come on, win it all.
I almost did. I held back. I almost did.
All right, so at least I wasn't far off.
Nope.
So with that being said, me being in the hot seat, I'm gonna say first of all, I'm just gonna not bury the lead and new MJF because without breaking it, I'm gonna let Sammy break it down and go last, but I'm just gonna say it like this, plain and simple. You have two options here. Okay, here's your options, and remind you, whoever wins this match is likely going to be the world champion going into Wembley. So the main event of Wembley is going to be one of two things. And I'm not saying either one are bad, but you got to say which one is more money. On one hand, Darby retains. So that means it would be Darby, and you would assume Swerve would win at that point. So because you want to face and heel, you want a clear-cut face and heel. I mean, I guess you could go Will and a Darby, but I don't think that works as well. So you have that match. And then over here, you have MJF versus Will Ospreay. We're in Wembley. We're trying to sell 100,000 tickets.
Yeah.
Right? Which marquee is going to give me this? Last time. Well, yes, but Danhausen is not on the table here. So last time, the time that they drew the big number, we can argue whether it's 88,000 or 93,000 or whatever the hell number we can argue about, right? I think there's somewhere in between those numbers. I don't care. The big number, who main evented that show? Who was your world champion?
That was MJF.
That's right. MJF and Adam Cole.
Yep.
So MJF headlined that show. Who was the biggest pop of that night?
Will Ospreay.
Enough said.
Yeah.
And new and Will Ospreay. There you go. Sammy, go ahead.
Well, I see MJF winning, so and new, but I also see MJF leaving bald. I still think we get that moment. I just think we do. And to see him go just on a rampage on the roster, kind of peak Kurt Angle when Angle was just absolutely shredded, completely bald, and just had this crazy, and it was mostly at the end of his original WWE run, but even in his TNA run where he had the belt, but he just looked like an absolute monster. I think you could see that from MJF this summer, and that'd be kind of cool leading into Wembley because it would be an evolution of his character.
Let me.
He can grow the hair back. It's fine. It'll grow back.
Right. No, yeah. But here, let me, or he can go to Turkey as they were accusing him of, right?
You know,
let me give you something tasty. Something you just said kind of said it. This past week on Dynamite, that attack and kind of promo on Darby was very serious. It's not a normal MJF moment. He looked, to your point, intense. We'll talk the Kurt Angle look. What if, hear me out, and this is a swerve that would be great. What if you get to the finish of this match, and as Darby Allin's giving it all, and MJF realizes he has to go that extra mile to put him down. What if MJF looks at him in the face, takes the clippers, and shaves his own head, and then puts down Darby, like in a manic, like I'm Lex Luthor, Kurt Angle. Like it could be so going into, instead of having that cocky, arrogant heel going into Wembley, you have this focused, intense, like I looked into Darby's eyes and I knew what I had to do. And I knew what I had to do going forward. This whole me being better than you and you know it, that's fine. It's whatever. No. I'm the real threat. Doesn't matter.
I took away your ability to mock me. I took away your belt. I took away everything.
He went 8 Mile.
Yeah. If you think about it, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that would be a hell of a storytelling.
Yeah.
And it would give you a different look going into, he's got something to prove against everybody. Because I'm thinking about how could he still lose his hair and win the match with Darby being a face? I'm like, well, wait a minute. To Sammy's point, which I thought was a great point. What if he just does it himself for just the insanity of it? And then he's now this super uber focused, intense individual going into the Wembley, especially if you have, because then his argument is like, hey, doesn't matter who wins. Swerve Strickland, you say you're the most dangerous. No, I'm the most dangerous. Will Ospreay, you say the best wrestler in the world. No, I'm the best wrestler in the world. No matter, and this is proving it. I knew what I had to do to put down. I did what I had to do to put down Darby, and I'm going to continue that intensity all the way to Wembley.
Or he just gets Wardlow back.
That too.
Yep.
I mean, I'm always a fan. Where's Wardlow? I might have to have my wife.
Wardlow.
Yep.
My wife made a beautiful Wardlow as Waldo. So where's Wardlow? Hey, that might be a new segment pretty soon.
Yeah.
He's done filming.
Yep, I was going to say American Gladiators.
American Gladiators is done filming, so you never know. Where's Wardlow?
Well, wouldn't it just be kind of a disservice to MJF, to AEW fans, to everything, for MJF to win, and then he shows up on Dynamite and he's just back to his cocky thing? He's like, oh, well, I'm not going to defend the belt. And you're going to have 16 stipulations to get a match with me. Like that, we've seen that. Evolving the character into just an absolute monster threat makes a lot of sense.
I know Ken wants
to go back to that later.
I'll give you I'll let you touch it there, Ken. But I just want to say I like what you're going with, but I don't like the word disservice. I don't really think it's a disservice. I think that you're going with what works, kid. You know what I mean? Like that's what works. That's what brought us to the dance. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I guess I'm in that camp. But Ken, what was your point?
No, I was gonna say what he'll do is after this match, like he could win, but let's say he still winds up being bald. He's just gonna say, you know what? I don't have to defend my belt until All In. I'm not gonna do Forbidden Door. I'm just gonna wait until then. I'm taking a vacation because reasons, and he's gone. But he'll still do like vignettes and to mess around with like whoever wins the Owen.
Yeah, I can see that too. I mean, once again, I like Sammy's point that let's do something different because I was just pitching that as well. But I just don't think technically I don't think it's a disservice because at the same time, it's what puts asses in the seats.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, giving credit to like wrestling is one of those things where you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And I think when too many people fail is because they try to reinvent the wheel. You have to ride it out. I don't think that technically there's nobody clamoring that MJF has outlived his gimmick.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we've seen him leave the gimmick and people being like, kind of liked him when he was an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, remember, this is the same guy who got crowds chanting, "He's our scumbag."
Yep.
So like there's this allure to that character, and I don't think that character's ran its course. Much to like I was saying about how WWE dropped the ball with Ryback. Where however you feel about him as a pro wrestler and as a human being is irrelevant. Just go by the push. They pushed him to the gills. They made him this new age Goldberg, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, we'll just turn him heel because reasons," right? And it screwed up a great run. Money. I shouldn't even say great run, money run, if you will. And so MJF, you're sitting here at the precipice of your biggest show of the year, where you're hoping to put 100,000 asses in the seats and make a statement, and you have a lot going into it. Like, we're talking about a show where we were just pondering if you do a TLC 3-way dance for the AEW World Tag Team titles with one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Well, 3 of the greatest tag teams of all time. The hell with it. 2 of the ones that are current, and then 1 of all time. But all of them, I would say, greatest tag teams of all time. You could really go in and have that signature match. It's a signature to Cope and Cage in a huge stage. Like, that will put asses in seats. We've talked about many a times of who you could put in the women's main event to put asses in seats, whether that's a returning of a Mercedes Moné, because we don't know what she's doing, or whether that's the return of Toni Storm, depending upon when her injury is, where she is in her injury, right? No matter what, you have the ability with Tekla, especially, to have this. We were going to pick Willow Nightingale.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And unfortunately, Willow is now injured. I think Willow would have been that spot, and that would have been a big match, right? So I think this wild card spot is going to be. I don't think Toni Storm's healthy. If I'm Tony Khan, I'm trying to get Mercedes back to work for whatever reason, whether she's out of contract or not. This is the time where you bring back the Owen Hart winner last year and have her run it back, because you need a star, to take that spot. Because I think Willow was the rightful winner, quite frankly.
Yep.
So I think that should be something. But yeah, you have a really great card in your hand, and that's why I think you need Will Ospreay versus MJF. Because what bigger match is there? Your best heel versus your biggest babyface, and the babyface happens to be from England.
Yeah, I mean, he laid it out in that promo.
Yeah, you are a home. Yeah. It's everything they've done, and I do believe that John. It's going to sound weird to say this, but the John Moxley, Will Ospreay stuff that you will see coming out of him winning the Owen, because obviously Moxley's not in the Owen, I think is the final test. I don't think it's going to be Moxley trying to take out Ospreay as much as it's like, okay, if you're hoping to beat MJF, you're going to have this match with me, and I'm not going to hold back on you. We've been preparing you, and I don't want you to hold back on me, because you have to prove that even though you respect me and I respect you, you're going to go that extra mile on me. If not, you're never going to beat him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're going to get that Rocky 3 moment. It's very much Apollo Creed in Rocky, and Will Ospreay's fucking Rocky.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there. I think that's I think that it's, once again, don't reinvent the wheel. Roll with it. And I think we have a huge shift. But hey, let us know if you have if you're joining us live. I know you could have thrown stuff in there, and that's awesome. But even if you're not, if you're watching us on record, make sure you throw comments in there. Take your picks. We're gonna love it. Next week we'll be back, obviously, to talk about the recap of Saturday night's main event, and of course of AEW's Double or Nothing. And of course, make sure while you're at it, if you're watching us on the other 2 places where we're live, Twitch and X, thank you so much for watching us there as well. All of the live shows, 607 TWS especially, are there. Make sure you follow us on all the social medias. You can find all those social medias by going over to fanlightzone.com, where you can also find some amazing comic content, as well as all of our other scheduling and apparel and all sorts of crazy stuff. So visit fanlightzone.com. It is comics and pop culture. And then, of course, if you are watching us on YouTube, you already have part of this done. But if you are watching us on either X or Twitch after this is over, head on over to the YouTube channel, smash the subscribe button, hit the bell icon for notifications so you know whenever we go live or a new video comes up. And of course, hit that thumbs up to help us conquer the algorithm and continue to grow not only 607 TWS, but Fanlight Zone as a whole. With that being said, though, we have come to the end of our ride. Until next week, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, like it is every single week for 607 TWS. For myself and for Miss Sammy and Ken M. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And most importantly, later, wrestling fans.